special people today, so I thought we'd get our program underway. And I'd like to begin with our ecumenical partners in Christ. First of all, thank you to First United Methodist Church for the lovely bouquets, and all the churches, First Presbyterian as well, First United Church, Trinity Episcopal, all chipped in to send us these flowers that were in worship, and now they're up here. And from First United Methodist, Jonathan Purvis is here. He would like to say a few words on behalf of his congregation, and I welcome him to the podium. Jonathan Purvis.
This is a great occasion. I bring greetings from our church council chairperson, Tom Bunker, and our lead pastor, Reverend Mark Finstemacher, and our entire congregation. Our congregation, First United Methodist Church here in Bloomington, congratulates you on the 190th anniversary of your ministry to Bloomington and the world of the name of Christ. You have blessed people, community, and the world through your faithfulness, countless acts of service, and generosity of spirit. It's a joy to be in ministry with you to this region, to the greater world. Our people celebrate with you. Our prayers and blessings accompany you into the future God has for you. We look forward to continuing to partner with you as we seek to be Christ's witnesses to the end of the earth. Congratulations.
Okay, and now I'd like to read a letter that was sent from Reverend Andy Ford, our neighbors to the north at First Presbyterian Church. Congratulations on 190 years of good and faithful service in Bloomington. How much has changed in 190 years. We celebrate your ongoing commitment to the unchanging love of God. We are so grateful to be your neighbors, to work together in various capacities, to worship together during Good Friday services, and to minister to our city together as the body of Christ. We give thanks for your ministry and presence, especially with those on the margins of society. Your work and witness inspires us as we seek to faithfully do the same. Your pastor, Reverend Helen Hampling, is a blessing to me and a joy to work with. I highly value your call to gather the downtown churches together so that we can not only work together, but be colleagues in ministry. From your beautiful building on Kirkwood to your openness to all people, First Christian Church truly is a beacon of light and hope in our city. For that we give thanks. Here's to 190 years more. And as you've already been introduced to Regional Minister, the Reverend Rick Splett, he is here from representing the Disciples of Christ Church in Indiana, and he has some news to share with us.
I do have some news. The life of this congregation and the life of the region are intertwined, and I'm happy to announce in one new and fresh way, as of last Thursday, we have called your member, Joel Cooper, to the regional staff. He's one of our new ministry associates. So Joel is working part-time in the regional office and part-time for Week of Compassion. You know, he has completed a global ministry internship in Kenya and Lebanon, and has really did a great job with that, and he will equip us all together in a fresh way. So I wanted to share that happy news with you. Again, blessings on your anniversary.
And at this time, I'd like to welcome up our active and long-standing FCC member, Doug Paul, to share some of his memories of our church.
As anyone to speak and be an adventure. What? What? Hello? How's that? Okay. I said, as many of you who know me can tell everyone else, asking me up here is sometimes just asking. But I'm happy and very pleased to be able to come out and reflect on the 52 years that I have personally been a member of this congregation.
No, you have to speak up. You have to speak up.
More?
Yeah.
And as I look back over that half century, 52 years, hi Charlie. Charlie's my wingman. Talk you into it, okay. You're already happy I came up here, aren't you? It gets better. Obviously, I have a lot of things to look at, to remember. Quite a few things I can't remember. But it dawned on me that my family's affiliation with this church has spanned more than 1/4 of the total time that this church has existed here. So I feel like I'm qualified to be, as my wife said, the committee was looking for a long-term member. Not an old member, but a long-term member. And I had many things just came back to mind. All of the dinners and special events we had right here in the Great Hall. The picnics that we had at Bryan Park, and all the fun and laughter. Events at Camp Bedford. I had a son that thought Camp Bedford was his second home. The wonderful mission trips that our children and the very special sponsors, the adult sponsors, partook in. Making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on Friday morning for the winter shelter group. I recall walking through 30 acres, how's that for a name, from the past. And in a dusty camp of tents that represented the tribes of Israel, and wearing a long robe and a towel turban on top of my head, being the official storyteller, thinking at the time, what am I doing here? And then actually getting into the storytelling and seeing those wonderful faces, those young faces, that was terrific. Of course, that was one of those things that I suspect, actually I know, that Kate Pearl had a lot to do with getting me involved in. And you all know about Kate Pearl getting you involved in. Bless her heart. But the church has helped us to say goodbye to parents, to relatives, to too many good friends. But it has also welcomed new friends. Possibly the most memorable experience Sue and I have had was at the baby dedication of our son Sam. At the end of the ceremony, the pastor at that time was Ron Parker, bless his soul. He asked our family to move down into the middle of the sanctuary and had the congregation all rise and close in around us, press in, forming a circle with us and the saints, until everyone was touching. And I'm sure that Sue would agree that the joy and the love that flowed from the outside of that circle into us, creating that huge group hug, was something I would never forget. At that moment, we were all truly a church family. And so, as we approach 200 years at this location, it's only appropriate that we reflect on who we are and why are we here. As our story continues to unfold, undoubtedly our environment both within these walls and certainly outside of them, will continue to change in ways that we cannot know at this point. But one thing that has not and will not change is the generosity, the warmth, the love we share with each other and our neighbors. And that, friends, is First Christian Church on the corner of Kirkwood and Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Also, unable to be here today, but is Ann Binkley Finley, who grew up in this church, and she now resides with her husband Doug in Australia, and usually manages to get over here for a few months of each year, and they'll be coming in June, but she sent some memories. I have copies of them here by the flowers if you'd like to read the whole thing, but I wanted to share a few of her highlights. Reflecting back on my personal memories of FCC, I realized that the Binkley family had first started attending the church over 100 years ago when my grandparents, Myron and Minnie Binkley, married and moved from the country to the city around 1915. Another exciting memory was the fact that our church was the only church that was on the radio. This is when she's growing up. An event which lasted for years and only changed when the church service was changed from 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. As a child, it was really thrilling to watch the radio operator count down the final 5 minutes of the radio show and see how close Dr. Anderson could get using every minute to his mouth. Another highlight of our young lives were the wonderful all-church potlucks that occurred regularly in Great Hall. Not only was the food wonderful and plentiful, but so was the fellowship with all of our friends. After dinner, we children would race to the basement, where we had great fun playing hide and seek. We can, however, remember the time we got caught out by Reverend Howard Anderson and were asked to stop. Suddenly and mysteriously, the lights for the basement were turned off, and Howard was stranded in the dark. And we children were able to run for safety as we knew the basement like the back of our hand. After that episode, the basement was strictly off limits. But you know kids. As an aside, I felt sorry for Dr. Anderson at the potluck suppers, as he was always the last person in the food line. But older and wiser now, I realized he was correct when he said he didn't mind, as he could take as much food as he wanted to, being last. When I enter the church today, I am surrounded by the memories of a lifetime. When the sun streams in through the windows and the beautiful music fills the air, I feel at peace, knowing my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, parents, and brothers are with me and help make up the history of FCC. This from Ann Binkley Finley. And that's a great segue, because it is my utmost pleasure to introduce you now to the son and daughter-in-law of Reverend Howard Anderson, who he served as pastor here from 1948 until 1973, and they have traveled from the Chicago area to be with us today. They're right here, and let's give them a warm welcome. His sister, Howard and Margaret Anderson's daughter, Judy Anderson Angelo, sends her well wishes as well to the congregation. She knows about the celebration but was unable to make it, and she resides in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Also among us is Tom Calvert Rosenberger, son of former pastor Reverend Mark Calvert Rosenberger, and secretary from 2001 to 2011. And I think our current pastor's son is here, right? John. He's here too. served over the long haul in Christian service in this community. And I welcome to you now from the mayor's office, Bethany Immenheiser, who is program manager for the Department of Housing and Neighborhood Development, otherwise known as PAN.
Hello. I have a proclamation for you today. Whereas on April 22nd, 1826, an election conducted in the Monroe County Courthouse, located on the Village Square in Bloomington, Indiana, resulted in the selection of Elijah Lee, Haas Armstrong, and David Batterson as trustees of the Christian Church, and whereas said trustees were at the event and were authorized to receive deed for lots or lands for the benefit of the aforesaid Christian Church, and whereas the aforesaid date recognized as the date officially designating the founding of the Christian Church in the town of Bloomington, Indiana, notwithstanding previous church meetings and services conducted in private homes and other locations prior to that time, and whereas it is further recognized that the name of the Christian Church was changed to Kirkwood Avenue Christian Church in 1884 and later to First Christian Church in 1917, and whereas this church is part of a faith tradition known as the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, a movement for wholeness in a fragmented world, and whereas it is appropriate to acknowledge the sacrifice, dedication, and vision of Hoosier pioneers who established said church in Bloomington, and whereas it is important to acknowledge the hard work, commitment, and perseverance of all those who have carried on the ministry in subsequent years, and whereas an understanding of our past is essential to building our future. Now, therefore, I, in representing John Hamilton, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, Indiana, congratulate First Christian Church Disciples of Christ on its 190th anniversary. I also commend the church for its 190 years of continued presence at the corner of Kirkwood and Washington, and for its ongoing commitment to serving the wider community.
Okay, and now I'm pleased to introduce to you the Executive Director of Monroe County United Ministries, Erin Predmore, who is here to speak to us today. We've been partners with MACO for a long, long time. Erin, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to your party. Turn 190, do a great job of it. As she just mentioned, y'all are one of our longtime friends in MACO. So we've just celebrated our big anniversary last year of 75 years. And y'all have been part of that entire time. You're one of the 9 congregations that founded us. It's in an ecumenical partnership that spans the entire city in an attempt to make the west side of the hill up there, Pigeon Hill, a little bit better for the people that live there. You matter to us every day. You matter to us now, and you matter to us for 75 years. When I speak to different congregational groups, I talk a lot about what it means to be an extension of faith. And that's what MACM is. It's your faith in action. When you support us, and when you support the work that we do, when you pray for us, when you donate food, when you put a little bit extra into the plate as it passes, that is an extension of who you are and your faith, and it does make a difference. I welcome you to come out at any time and see that faith in action up there on the hill. We'd love to have you and show you around. When you here at First Christian adopt one or two families every Christmas, you bring food to us almost every week to help out at our food pantry. You send us great volunteers like Frida Hoffman, Joe Weddle, Janet Schnell, Mary Polk. You found us, which I've already mentioned. And over the lifetime, you have donated 37,904 pounds of food to our food pantry. And $1.94. So, thank you. Thank you for your service and your love for us, and just know that we reciprocate completely. We're glad that you're here, and we're glad that you're putting your faith in action every day.
And last but not least at all is Carrie Thompson, CEO and President of our Monroe County chapter of Habitat for Humanity, which began here on the third floor. And we welcome Carrie.
It is such a delight to be here to celebrate with you all today. You know, what we do as faith communities in Christ in these walls is tremendously important. But what this congregation does outside of its walls is equally important and perhaps more impactful. Because what you have heard today are ways that for 190 years you have been making a difference in the lives of the people who come here, and those people have been making their ripple effects in the lives of many, many others. 28 years ago, there was a little posting in the newspaper. I taught our history of habitat and philosophy to our homeowners yesterday, and I always tell this story. There was a little piece in the neighbor section of the Herald Times, back then the Herald Telephone, that said, if anybody's interested in talking about solving the crisis for affordable housing here in Monroe County, please meet at First Christian Church on a Saturday morning. And sure enough, about 15 people came to that call-out meeting, and our very first board of directors was formed, and they filed the incorporation papers after being inspired in your gathering space downstairs. And then you house our offices here in the building up on the third floor. When I came here 19 years ago, I would spend about 12 hours a day on a construction site, and I figured that it was really God's fitness plan for me to come here to the office afterwards and climb all of those stairs. But that was where we had our first offices, and it was such a gift to be able to be on a bus line where our retired volunteers could ride from their houses down on the bus to be here and type up our newsletters and spend time together distributing those. You housed our board meetings for probably close to 2 decades. And we eventually kind of grew out of that space upstairs. It was, what do you think, maybe 60 square feet? So eventually we did grow out of that. I will never forget the day I was on job site and had a game-changing conversation with John Ambler, where he divulged to me that the church was looking for a great way to use the Campbell House. And I told him I had a good idea, that we really needed a new office. Our volunteers spent the better part of a year in Campbell House, scraping old wallpaper and shoring up floors and taking down temporary walls and discovering the beautiful architecture that was beneath those. We call First Christian Church our home. And for a housing organization, for a place that gives meaning to those 4 walls that people grow in love and grow to nurture their family in, our home is perhaps the most important part of who we are. So thank you. Thank you for being such an integral part of Habitat, for loving us so well, and for having faith in the abundance that has been given to First Christian Church, enough to continue to give to the community. We are just tremendously grateful for what you've given us. Happy birthday.
Let's give a round of applause for all of our special guests here today. available in 2 different pendants and lapel pin. We have birthday cake, and sorry if you didn't get to see the work of art. It's now been decimated into pieces. Feel free to eat several pieces. It was beautiful, beautiful. And then tonight, I urge you all to come to the Jazz Vesper service this evening. Special music begins at 5:40. The service itself at 6 o'clock, featuring the J.J. Wright Trio. This will be quite a beautiful experience of music that slows us down and helps us reflect, and a very fitting way to close this commemorative weekend of festivities. And now let us